I sent 454 Loom videos. And the more Looms I sent, the bigger the places I lived in. I went from a villa in Bali to a mansion in Marbella to an Argentinian estate where I ate way too much steaks. But I wasted months figuring this out through painful trial and error. And I followed myths that would waste all of my time. But you won't have to, because I broke down 7 myths about Loom outreach that are destroying your business. I'll end up with a contradictory advice telling you why it's not a long-term strategy and what you should do instead that only takes 30 minutes a day. Now, if you're into the Loom outreach and you just want a full breakthrough, I made a 4-hour video, first link in the description, that details everything till I close a client. Now let's get started. The first myth about the subject lines. When your email lands in the inbox, your prospects see 3 things: your name, your subject line, and the preview text of your message. So about your name, you want to keep it because you're building a brand. You want to create familiarity, consistency, and your name is probably something that you won't change. The important thing is about the subject line, obviously. Most people, me included, I used to do this. They write garbage like quick question or following up, or some other gimmicks that they saw Alex Hormozi talk about. So I came up with a pattern that's easy to apply. It's called the 3 R's. So in the first interaction you have with your prospects, you want to respect those 3 R's. The first one is recognizable. You want to write something they can recognize that's part of their brand or whatever they're doing. It could be their recent post, a recent video they've made, anything related to something they've created in the past few days. The second R is recent. As I said, you want something recognizable, but something recent. So it shows that you're actually interested and you follow that prospect in their business endeavor or whatever they're building. So something they've created in the past 72 hours. And then the last R is relevant. You want something that's tied directly to their desire or their pain and how to solve it. And listen, that formula to create those subject lines and that first interaction is what led to more than 500,000 in sales for my clients and me. Now about the preview text, so the thing they see just below the subject line. I use the single word that triggers the strongest psychological response possible. Is the word that you and me and any other human loves the most. Their first name. That's what you want to use. Myth number 2. Longer videos show more value. So that's the biggest lie. More time equals more value. And I once believed that doing longer videos like 10-minute looms in which I was detailing everything in the process showed more value. And that was wrong, obviously. My 90 seconds loom would outperform my 5 minutes loom. And you really want to treat your outreach to your cold prospects just like the YouTube algorithm. Your loom is a YouTube video, and oftentimes when you go on YouTube, you can see tutorials or like value videos that perform well. They're often the shortest. Or just think of yourself when you were searching to solve a problem, like a technical problem. So how to add that thing on Photoshop or whatever. You're searching for the shortest video, right? We're not talking about entertainment. That's different. You want a full hour entertainment, you go to watch Mr. Beast. But if you want to solve a problem, you want the video that's the shortest and that goes straight to the point. You don't want those videos where the guy starts introducing, hey guys, subscribe to the channel if you like it, drop a like, but we don't care about this shit. We want the solution as fast as possible. So think of attention like money. Every second is like $1,000. And it actually could be, depending on who you're reaching out to. Because it's not because you put in the effort to make a video that they owe you their time, right? So make sure you compact the value of your video and that you can't make it on the first go, right? You have to do iterations. Just start doing it. It's going to be 10 minutes and then make it 5 and then make it 3 minutes and then even 2 minutes if you can, or even below that. There's even some Loom research that shows that engagement just drops after 2 minutes. So try to keep it in that range. The first myth is about sending Looms right after the first interaction. But the simple answer here is never send something to someone who didn't ask for it. You want to create reciprocity and commitment. You want people to be committed in receiving the video because that increases the chance they will actually watch it. and that you won't waste your time doing it. And avoid those gimmicks like, would you be opposed to, or I don't want to waste your time, but blah, blah, blah. Or quick question. These are overused, all right? These worked in 2022 when Hormozy wasn't that mainstream. But now, as soon as he talks about one trick, it gets worthless after a day. So if you follow Hormozy for inspiration, that's cool. But for those tips and tricks, it won't work. And anyways, you want to follow fundamental principles, psychology, because the brain hasn't changed in thousands of years and it won't change in the future. So you want to pull human brain levers that have worked for centuries. Now, if I were to summarize what you need to do in order to start that interaction and then send your loom, first you want to use the fewest words possible. You want to not be boring. I used to send the memes to my prospects and it worked very well. Third is stay true to your voice. Be authentic. If memes don't work with you or you don't like memes, don't use them, right? Use something that's true to you. And fourth, make the ask crystal clear. The prospect needs to know clearly what they need to respond. It's a yes, it's a no, or some word that you tell them to reply. Myth number 4, any reason to send a loom will work. So what's the only valid reason to send a loom to a stranger? Is to demonstrate that you can solve one specific part of their problem. And the best way to think about it is to think of it as a micro course. When you solve a part of their problem, you show your humanity, right? You show that you're a human, that you're here to help. You're not some AI generated stuff. You show your competence, right? You don't just say that you're an expert at XYZ, you actually do it. And fourth, very important, you create conversation, which is what you're gonna need in order to lead the conversation to a conversion. So don't say, I noticed your marketing could be improved. Talk about the 3 exact keywords that the competitors are ranking that your prospect is missing. Myth number 5. You just want to act natural in your loom and just follow your instinct. Okay, this is not really a myth, obviously, but just be yourself is the worst advice. You want to follow a script. It's going to make your life easier. And here's a 4-step script I've tested over hundreds of looms. So first part is results first. This should last 15 to 30 seconds. You want to show undeniable proof that you've generated results for yourself or for your clients. If you can't show results, well, there's no attention. Now, if you don't have results, what I used to do when I got started is I used results of others, which I broke down in a process. But yeah, of course, it's better to use your own results. Second step, you want to break their current process. This should last 20 to 30 seconds as well. And you basically want to tell them their own story, their failures, their feelings that they might have. You want to make them feel understood and show them that it's not their fault and there's a better way. Part 3. You want to introduce your solution. This is the big chunk of the video, which should last around 30 seconds. And you basically share how you created your solution. You connect, very important here, you want to connect each component of your solution to a specific pain that it solves. And last step, you want to give the next steps to your prospects. This should last 10 seconds. So you want to invite them, for example, to a 15-minute walkthrough. So this way you can deepen the conversation with them. But you're not obligated to do calls. I've closed people through emails just by doing this back and forth conversation only through emails or DMs, and it worked. And what you want to do in that last step is add a bit of urgency. Now, your time is limited, right? If you invite people on a call, your time is limited, and use that. Use that, the fact that your time is limited, as a true scarcity, because you absolutely want to give people a reason to act now. Because if they cannot act now, they will postpone it, they will procrastinate. That's the default behavior of any human. Myth number 6, follow-ups can save a bad initial outreach. Of course not. Listen, the truth here is that if they want to watch your loom, they will. If they don't care, there's nothing you can do to save it. So my advice here would be to not waste energy on dead leads. And what you want to do to take it easy with this and just focus on the next lead you can get is set up a automated follow-up sequence. I did them with a tool called instantly.ai, which is great. Basically, you want to set up a 4 to 8 email sequence that is triggered as soon as your lead has either seen your video or replied to you, or you went on a call with him, whatever happened, but you want to set up those automated email sequences. The way I used to do it is whenever a certain action was done, or for example, after the loom was sent, I was just adding a tag, loom sent, and adding that tag would trigger that subsequence to follow up with the lead. What's the structure of the follow-up sequence? I'm not gonna give away all the secrets here, but basically the follow-up sequence, the main use of that sequence is not to elaborate on your solution and all that stuff. It's not to sell. It's just to remind your lead that you send them a resource, you send them the loom. So it has to be extremely short. So one-liners, maximum two-liners, where you maybe add a bit more social proof. So you talk about someone that you've helped that's a similar avatar as your prospect, or you create urgency. For example, I have a few spots this week and then I don't take any more clients. So let me know if you could watch the loom I made for you. But most importantly, the last email of your sequence is the one that will get them to reply. At least that's what happened for me. So the last email is the breakup email. It's where you tell them that, all right, from now on, I'm just going to move on to something else. Let me know if you're in, because I'm closing the cohort or I'm closing whatever. I don't have any more time to onboard new clients. So yeah, I'm just going to move on. And this email got me so many replies. So make sure you work your last email as a breakup email. Always short, right? So this way you don't have deliverability issues. Don't use images as well, because it will increase the chances of ending up in spam. So last myth is about outreach being a long-term strategy. If I'm honest, those strategies are good either if you're getting started or you want cash as fast as possible. But right now I'm going to pull a Robert Greene. You know Robert Greene, the author of 48 Laws of Power. In most of his books, he follows the same structure. He tells you about a grand idea, a grand concept. He gives you a historical example so you can better understand the idea. Then a more pragmatic explanation and a modern example. And then he ends up his chapters with what seems like the opposite of what he just said. A reversal. Because true mastery isn't about just being obedient to one rule. It's being able to know when to break it. And that's the moment I break it. So, how to stop doing outreach in 2 to 3 months from now? First of all, why would you stop outreach? Let's go back to the fundamentals. Whatever you offer to the market, people are going to see it. And there's many ways people can see it. For the sake of simplicity, let's take 3 of them. Outreach, which we just talked about, ads, and content. Content is the best one. It is high status. It doesn't take you more energy if 10 people or 100,000 people see it, and people come to you. They enter your frame. That's the most important thing. You are the authority. So it's much easier to strike a deal because the cards are in your favor. For ads, it's a bit less good because ads are a bit lower status than content. It just takes more money to be seen by 10 or 100,000 people, and people are not necessarily willing to watch you. But if they choose to, and dive deeper into your ad, they enter your frame. You are still the authority, but trust needs to be built. Now, outreach is low status. It's a numbers game. The more you do it, the more energy it implies, and the more leads it takes to win. You go to people, you enter their frame. They haven't asked for anything. They are the authority. Otherwise, you wouldn't reach out to them. And so you need to give a lot of trust and value to spark interest. That lead sniping phase is crucial to make sure you target the people who already need you. And it works well when you're working with a limited budget, and it's the fastest way to get results. You send an email, you get the feedback. It's either they reply or they don't. But eventually, you want to make the move from low status to high status. You want every ounce of your energy to be invested in something that compounds, because outreach doesn't compound. You need to do it over and over again, and then you need to change your copy because it gets saturated into a brand. And content is the vehicle that compounds into a brand, a source of knowledge people can come back to. The outreach game, it puts you in a bad position from the get-go. And here's a quote from the book The Win Without Pitching Manifesto that really illustrates that. Even when we pitch and win, we lose. We devalue what should be our most valuable offering and set up the wrong dynamics between the client and us. In short, stars do not audition. When DiCaprio wants to star in a movie, he doesn't cast to hundreds of auditions. He just gets cold. And so what's the difference between him and random actors? It's brand, obviously. When I was a freelancer or solely focused on my agency and nothing else, I had no choice but to ask for chances. And it was going to stay like that until I changed how people perceived me. So I started to give, and by having a giving habit, I became the authority. People started to come to me for guidance. It made any sale much easier because it didn't come from me needing them, but from them needing me. The hand that gives is always above the hand that takes. Now, don't get me wrong, agency work is great to get results faster, but if you're running it, let's say you're making around 10 to 50K per month, and you still ask yourself, where your next client will come from. You still need to hire a bunch of people. And the more people, the more problems. You don't really get excited over a 10x of your current situation because that would mean 10x more headaches. Unless you play the right game. A game in which you only work with high margin clients that come to you, which removes calls from your calendar, that makes your income more passive, and that basically brings you back to why you became an entrepreneur. Now, if you still need to get clients fast, watch the 4-hour breakthrough. That's still valid to this day. First link in the description. If you'd like daily insights in your inbox to build a sovereign business, just join the newsletter. The link is in the description. See you in the trenches.